All right, everybody. Welcome to today's presentation titled Swiss Army Stormwater Regional Facility. Our presenters here are Cody Swan from Whatcom County, Theo from Parametrix, and then Sean Darcy with Oldcastle Infrastructure. Little background on this presentation. Regional facilities benefit from adaptive management measurements. Upstream measures throughout the watershed were conducted by the county over a decade to prolong the stormwater regional facilities functionality. Some challenges remain with high flow, phase flow, sedimentation, maintainability, and wildlife, deer, to keep vegetation established. We reached into our pocket and pulled out our Swiss Army utility knife to give a regional facility a makeover to incorporate flexible hydraulic controls for long-term operations. Please join us for a case study on a unique retrofit of a regional stormwater facility in Bellingham, Washington, targeting phosphorus removal from Lake Whatcom. And each of our presenters will give a brief introduction as well.
My name's Cody Swan. I'm with Whatcom County. I was involved in this project very briefly, and then it got handed off to another engineer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of it. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the background. Theo and Sean are going to do most of the heavy lifting from Parametrix and Oldcastle, talking about the design and the media. So the background is the Lake Whatcom is the drinking source of Bellingham and the larger Whatcom, like that area around Bellingham. And in 1998, it was listed as a 303D impaired water body due to low oxygen levels, dissolved oxygen. And then the TMDL was implemented, and in 2013, the city ended up getting a grant from it was the National Estuary Program, kind of administered through DOE. And they got that grant in 2013, and they partnered with us, Whatcom County, in 2015 to acquire a piece of property and do this treatment facility. So they acquired the property and tore down the house. We did this project that was a treatment chain that included a Filterra bioretention system up at top that filtered through down to this sorptive amended sand filter below. It's changed and morphed a little bit through the years due to a variety of things, and maybe Theo will touch on some of them, or not, and you can ask questions later. I'll tell you about this. This system became ineffective for filtration. It became it started shadowing because of sediment. The original anticipated runoff going to the system was inaccurate. So after that, starting in 2019, we started to reanalyze the basin that's contributing to it and the runoff that was being ran through this system. And then eventually we hired Parametrix to do a data gaps analysis and alternatives analysis that ended us where we are now with this alternative that we installed, that Sean will talk about, and Theo. So on this part, well, we've collaborated with the city through all of the iterations of this project, but this last phase was to meet the original treatment effectiveness that we were targeting originally, be able to treat the be able to accommodate the flows that were entering the system and improve the aesthetic. And ultimately, the city owned the land and we own the facility. So we're ultimately trying to pass that off to the city to maintain and upkeep for perpetuity. So I think that's it, then.
I am Theo with Parametrix. I'm a surface water engineer who got the privilege of working on phase 2 of this project, so I'm gonna talk about that. So after a couple iterations, this is the drainage area contributing to the facility. It's mostly forested, about 60% forested. Only the lower portion is really that developed. And so one of the unique things here is Whatcom County and City of Bellingham have jurisdiction in the contributing area. So the City of Bellingham being the lower, more developed portion, and Whatcom County being the upper portion. So there were some issues with the earlier iteration of sedimentation, and they did some stabilization projects in between these two phases to try and control that. There still is sedimentation, but it's better than it was originally. So, but yeah, it's mostly ditched areas in the upper tributary area, and then it goes to pipes and basins. But 100 acres. The site location, like Cody said, kudos to both of them for finding the perfect location. It's a large drainage area, contributing to a location that outfalls to Lake Whatcom. So acquiring this lakefront property for this regional facility. So one of the other great things is there's good hydraulic drop. There's 24-foot drop, so gives you a lot to work with. From this road, this was like a 16-inch outfall originally, from North Shore Drive here, so this is kind of where we came in, what the site looked like when we were starting. And some of the site constraints, looking at using the existing facility as much as we could. After the kind of reboot on the drainage area, the phosphorus treatment rate was 1.77 CFS we were trying to meet. And then we were trying to incorporate maintenance considerations to make it easy for City of Bellingham to take over and maintain going forward. So which would included some of the pre-treatment units, accommodating base flow, and having something with low maintenance on vegetation. So this is what it looked like before construction, just kind of overgrown. The system, the Filterra system wasn't really activated. There was a valve put in that kind of alternated flow every 24 hours to allow dry time, but we'll get to that and see. So on the upstream end, before flow came into the site, there was a hydrodynamic separator. And so one of the issues of maintaining this was base flow constantly coming into this. So factoring it out, you're just filling it up with the base flow. So they wanted to have something to be able to take it offline for those intervals. This was the water quality flow splitter after the phase 1 portion, which was just a CB type 1L with a baffle walling for splitting overflow to the sand filters. And then on that the pipe out to the Filterra, again, there was an actuated valve. This was just an interim measure till the final design was put in, of just turning it on and off every 24 hours. But there was a screen that was on the flow control structure, and I think that kind of got occluded with filter or leaf litter and debris, so water wasn't even making its way to the Filterra eventually. So that's our starting point. And like MacGyver, we were gonna take what was there and make it work. So I just like that picture. So so our plan after our data gaps and alternatives analysis working with City of Bellingham and Whatcom County, the things that were important were retrofitting, using the existing infrastructure that was out there, the footprint of that Filterra unit, and then providing bypass for the base flow to the sand filters, so the sand filters would still treat the base flow, and then utilizing the HDS units to their capacity and bypassing everything beyond that treatment capacity. Providing a bypass for those maintenance intervals like I talked about on the pre-treatment, and then build in adjustments for the controls just to be able to accommodate as anything hydrologic changes or hydraulic changes occurred. So everything in color here is what we put in for the phase 2. So on the upstream end, we put in a high flow maintenance bypass structure. Then we replaced the water quality flow control splitter with a base flow control for adjusting for the base flows. And then we retrofit the Filterra treatment cell as well. So starting at the upper end here, this is what's the high flow maintenance bypass. So one of the key things here was we utilized that valve that was turning on and off and put it into the baffle wall, just so you could open that up when you went to back out your pre-treatment unit and bypass the flows. You could also use it for any maintenance on the new water quality treatment media. We also had a flow control riser to try and neck the flows down just for that pre-treatment rate. And then an adjustable weir here to be able to accommodate those high flow bypasses. So this is the new water quality flow splitter valve. And that serves the purpose of you can adjust the weir here to meet that exact water quality flow rate. I'll get into how we did that. But it also has an outlet for those base flows with this pinch valve here. So one of the cool things about the pinch valve, it's a little bit more hydraulically efficient than a typical valve. It's basically kind of like a rubber tube that gets squeezed top and bottom. So it's less susceptible to getting clogged. But you could also adjust it to meet the base flow condition that you were seeing. So you could neck it down and see when flow starts spilling over here. Seasonally, you can adjust it. And so that was a cool feature. And you can see how flow after it heads over this weir comes out into the treatment cell. But this allowed, bypassing the base flow allowed the media that dry time that was needed, so you didn't get biofouling. So here is the treatment cell distribution. We have steel troughs to get flow to evenly disperse over the media, which is part of the GULD requirement. So one of the cool things about this is we had these steel troughs are adjustable. So as you can set them to level and get flow evenly dispersed. There's kind of joints that allow you to adjust it. And then you can adjust these bolts to raise and lower them. We also have drain down holes, which is mostly important during the warmer months, just so there's not stagnant water sitting in these growing stuff. And then having these be open troughs allows you to see, is there sediment, any debris in there that needs to be cleaned out, just a lot easier than a closed pipe where you need to try and pop off the end cap to see in and see if there's anything in there. So before we put the media in, we did some calibration adjustments. We pumped in a circular way from the treatment cell back into the water quality flow splitter. And then we're able to adjust the weirs, adjust the base flow controls to what was anticipated, just to dial it in, because theoretical doesn't always translate. So and we also were able to see how the water flowed over the trough edges and distribute evenly. So with that, I'm gonna hand it to Sean to talk about the media install.
Thank you, Theo. You guys hear me all right? Yay. So a retrofit of a retrofit of a retrofit. So retrofit cubed, gotta love that, right? Have to thank Theo. He did an amazing job on this design. I mean, really incorporating all of the concerns that I had on moving forward with this system. So thank you, Theo. You did awesome. Thank you, Whatcom County, for giving us the opportunity to do this on so many of the different projects. City of Bellingham is also a stakeholder, so thank you guys. I gotta say, dealing with phosphorus TMDLs as low as you're dealing with at Lake Whatcom is very challenging. And we're designing things based on the information that we have at the time. So we have a lot more information today than we did 12 years ago. So all of those things that we have learned have now been incorporated thanks to Theo's very diligent due diligence and patience to make a better functioning facility. Oldcastle infrastructure, we are in Bellingham, we are in Auburn, and also locally here in Wilsonville. So gotta thank them for giving me a job. The contractor here was fantastic. Robert Soto Premium Services is just awesome. And then we used Lens Enterprises for doing the conveyor. So I have some cool pictures on all this. And also have to give some kudos out to, Ecology. So this is a Immunicon event. So we talk a little bit about the Stormwater Management Manual. They do have information in Volume 1, Appendix D, about regional facilities. The big thing is protective conveyance design and installation of adjustable components. And then to Sean Darcy this is my interpretation of it. So you need pre-treatment, base flow bypass, adjustable flow controls, really for optimizing your system to make sure that you get the biggest bang for the buck and address longevity and loading and all of those things. So accessible flow controls for maintenance, which is what Theo did as well. Maintenance access during wet conditions. So being able to turn that off so that you can actually have a reasonable size Vector truck come out and do the maintenance, and that you're not doing 6 Vector trucks 5 minutes. Oh my. Vegetation is optional. Oh, the hydraulic testing on the flumes and weirs, this is a big deal. Doing that calibration up front is so critical for the long-term performance of the system. And we want to do this without the media installed, because if we're using chlorinated water or water that has high iron content, that may be stripping the media of its properties that we're trying to do. So going after a phosphorus TMDL and you're stripping out some of the phosphorus removal capabilities is a bad thing. So let's do that before the media is installed. And then with vegetation being optional, vegetation is going to grow naturally. So this is kind of the washed out approach, is just let plantings come in, naturally succeed. If it happens, it happens. Vegetation not being in the facility is easier for the people to maintain. So the contractor did an awesome job in this beautiful location of covering that flume. Like, this wasn't in our scope of work. This is something that they did. So when we were throwing the rock and the media into place, it wasn't damaging the steel of the flume. So that's pretty cool. The old system, 2 to 3 inches of mulch, 1.75 feet of media, and then 10 to 12 inches of drain rock. The new system, 1.5 feet of media, and then 12 inches of drain rock. So very similar. We had the bones there. So for essentially the same cost as replacing the previous system through a natural maintenance event, was the same similar cost as doing the biopod. So that's a nice little advantage of using the system. This is the drain rock going in. You can kind of see the conveyor truck over there. This is a nice little Miles of Gravel was the place that we got the rock from. This is the media going in. And the advantage of using a conveyor truck is time. So, and essentially We got 72 tons of material. It was 1.75 hours of conveyance time. We had to load the truck up a couple times, so we had 4 runs, and that took a majority of the time is just loading the truck up. So in essentially a day, we were able to install this entire media, so that was fantastic. And then on the media install, the advantages of using a mineral aggregate is it's 96 pounds per cubic foot. And what that means is when it's in a wet condition, your footing is very stable. So it's denser than 5/8 minus or 3/4 minus rock. So this is a very firm footing. So if you're in underground situations, you're not sinking, right? So when you have organic material in there, this is kind of the challenge with organic material, with compost, peat, coir, all of these things are very mucky. So if you are underground, you want a firm footing. So just something to think about. This media has a very high cation exchange capacity, very low organic content, enough organic content for plants to grow, but not enough for phosphorus leaching. So that's an important criteria. And then this is orifice control. And the big reason why the storm mix media is a little bit better than other alternatives is because of that low organic content for those long duration flows. So downstream and detention applications, this is a much better media using a mineral aggregate than something that has a lot of organic content. Flow dispersion, the flume with weep holes, that independent suspension of that system versus that pipe, this system isn't going to sink. So that's a nice advantage of that flume. Disadvantage of it is you do have to clean it out quarterly or when leak debris comes in, just to make sure that those weep holes are going. And then my coworkers really liked it when I say that I picked out every single rock that is running that flume, which is actually true. It only took me going through 5 tons of material to get it, and it took me about 45 minutes. So the retrofit of a retrofit of a retrofit is, this is kind of the, what it looks like today. And you're like going, so how is it performing? Well, invite me for a lunch and learn, and I would love to talk to more about these facilities. How to care for stormwater regional facilities. This is loading types, best practices, reducing mobilization costs. Got 20 years of experience of doing this, and we've learned a lot of things along the way. And then how to reduce cost. And interesting, we always talk about going underground and the opportunity costs associated with these systems. For large regional facilities, if you can do a land-based solution using proprietary systems, you actually have a huge cost savings from, so instead of doing 100 facilities, you could do 1 facility, and mobilization costs are the most expensive thing for municipalities for doing maintenance. So if you had 100 facilities, which is essentially what this is doing, so this system here, this is April 2025. So this system is handling a lot of water. You would need 100 different systems. That's 10, 20 mobilizations. If you're doing something on a quarterly basis, right off the bat, you are saving a tremendous amount of money on your maintenance and time associated with these are planned activities to go out and address the maintenance aspects of this system. And this basin is challenging. There is a high loading coming up, very fine materials. So this system has its work cut out for it. And the nice thing about having that mineral aggregate is that if you get any kind of buildup on the top, you have a firm bottom so that you can kind of scrape all that mulch and do an easy maintenance. So it takes about 45 minutes to rake the top and about 5 minutes to apply the mulch. So it's really, if you have to do that 1 or 2 times a year, it's not the end of the world. It's $200 of cost for replacing the mulch for the system. Really inexpensive. If you do end up getting sediment going into the media bed, you have the option of removing that layer and replacing it. It's 3 inches at a time. So it's really a very economical system. If you wanted to wait 10 to 15 years, you can and replace all the media at that time. I suggest doing that 3-inch. We've had a lot of success with a lot of port facilities with just doing that 3-inch replacement media. And then this is what it looks like today. So big transformation. I think the overall budget for this was a $250,000. So to take an uplift of the facility to this capacity to get that amount of adjustable controls, truly a very good investment for Whatcom County, well, more for the city of Bellingham, I guess. Cool. So, Cody, Theo, myself, we want to thank you very much for spending the time. If you have any questions, let us know. Essentially, when you have organic matter that's always saturated,
Yeah.
that's the problem, right? So when you have a saturated media, you get little bacteria, good bacteria that start to form a layer on top, and that takes over and it prevents the water from infiltrating into the system. So that biofouling is a huge issue, and we've had examples of construction debris coming through and causing that layer. As soon as you just rake it, just a little fluffing, it comes right back. You don't even have to replace the mulch, just a little fluffing gets you right back to square one. So it just needs a little mechanical action to break that seal, and then you're fine.
How's that?
No testing. No results yet.
Not yet.
Planning on?
Am I? No, I don't know about the city.
Zoom folks.
Yeah, the focus was just installing a system per the GULD, so to meet our phosphorus goals, so we are not planning on testing. They're, you know, if they want to, it's easy to, there's good points for that on the system, so. And yeah, Cody said there's grants, maybe they will go for that.
The thing is, we're transferring it to the city, so it's no longer our facility.
Yeah, it's gonna be the city of Bellingham who would be
It's
doing
not
that.
yes.
So the uppermost one is the phosphorus treatment. The lower three are sand filters with that sort of media amendment. So those are basically being used for the base flow only currently. So under the original design, it was a little bit different configuration, but with the retrofit, that was how we did it.
Went from a treatment train to just treatment. So it used to go to the filter and
It's
then.
still a treatment train because there's pre-treatment.
That's true, that's true, yeah.
And there's also a HDS unit on the base flow before the sand filters, so.